All right, let's dive right in. Today we're going to break down a really important part of the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or BNS. We're talking about the laws that are designed to protect a woman's dignity. And these laws are, well, they're layered. They deal with everything from a simple word or a gesture all the way up to a serious physical crime. So, let's get into it. So you might be wondering, where does the law actually draw the line? I mean, at what point does a word become a crime, or when does a touch become an assault? That's really the big question we're tackling. And to understand it, we've got to focus on one single core idea: intent, what lawyers call mens rea. Basically, the state of mind of the accused person. It's the key that unlocks everything, and it explains why one act is a crime and another, very similar act, isn't. Okay, so first up, let's talk about offenses that don't involve any physical contact whatsoever. We're just talking about words and gestures here. Now, the BNS has two very different sections for this, and understanding the difference between them is absolutely critical. Now, on the surface, these might look kind of similar, right? But the law splits them apart based on two things: who the target is and what the intent was. Think of it like this. Section 79 is a personal attack. It's aimed at one specific woman with the goal of insulting her dignity. Section 296, on the other hand, is about public nuisance. It's an act that's annoying the public in general. The law cares about this difference because it's protecting two different things: individual dignity versus public order. Now, to really get a handle on that public nuisance thing, we need to know what the word obscene actually means in a legal sense. The law says it's anything that's lascivious, that's a fancy word for something that tends to incite lust, or anything that appeals to prurient interest, which basically means it could corrupt the mind of whoever sees or hears it. There's a famous old case about a cabaret dancer that just illustrates this perfectly. For the court to convict someone of public obscenity, it had to pass a three-part test. First, was the act obscene by those legal definitions? The court said, yeah, it was. Second, did it happen in a public place? Well, a club counts as public, so yes again. But the entire case, literally everything, came down to that third question. Did it cause annoyance to the public? And the court found that, actually, no. The people in the audience bought tickets. They were there because they wanted to be. They weren't annoyed. They were being entertained. And because that key ingredient, annoyance, was missing, the whole charge of public obscenity just fell apart. So let's swing back to Section 79, that personal insult. This crime is incredibly specific. You can't just stumble into it. It requires what's called a dual intent. First, the person has to intend to insult the woman's modesty. And second, and this part is the real kicker, they also have to intend for that one particular woman to be the person who sees the gesture or hears the word. So, what does this look like in the real world? Well, if a group of guys are whispering something nasty about a girl but they don't mean for her to hear it, it's not a crime under this section. Same thing if someone mocks the way she walks behind her back, the intent for her to see it just isn't there. But, get this, what if someone yells a crude comment at a woman who's wearing headphones and she doesn't actually hear it? That is a crime. Why? Because the intent for her to hear it was there. It doesn't matter what she perceived, all that matters is what the perpetrator intended. Okay, so we're moving up the ladder of severity now. We're going from words and gestures to actual physical attacks. And this, as you can imagine, is where the law gets much more serious. Under Section 74, we have the crime of sexual assault. Now, this isn't just any old push or shove. This is assault, or what's called criminal force, that is combined with a very specific sexual intent. The goal has to be to outrage a woman's modesty. The presence of that specific thought in the perpetrator's head is what elevates a simple assault into the much more serious crime of sexual assault. And this brings us to a really powerful legal principle from a landmark case. The court essentially declared that a woman is born with her modesty. It's not something she earns or develops over time. It's an intrinsic part of her dignity from the moment she is born. Now, think about what that ruling means. The impact is enormous. It means the law protects everyone. A baby girl, a woman who is unconscious, a woman who is of unsound mind, they all possess modesty, and that modesty can be legally outraged. The victim's reaction, or even her awareness of what's happening, is completely and totally irrelevant. The focus is 100% on the perpetrator's actions and their intent. And finally, we arrive at the highest rung of the ladder. We're talking about the most severe offenses in this area of the law, attacks on a woman's privacy and her physical integrity. So you can see this clear hierarchy, this ladder that's been built, right? We started on step 1 with Section 79, which was just about insulting modesty. Then we climbed to step 2, Section 74, which added physical force into the mix. And now, at the very top, we have Section 76. This is an aggravated or worsened form of assault, where the intent is even more specific and severe. The goal is to disrobe a woman or force her to be naked. Now, alongside all these physical crimes, the BNS also tackles a very modern and deeply serious violation: voyeurism. This is under 77. Notice, this one isn't about physical contact at all. It's about a total invasion of privacy. It's the act of watching or taking a picture of a woman while she's doing something private, something where she has every reason to expect that she's not being watched.
So what counts as a private act? Well, the law is pretty clear on this. It's basically any situation where you would have a reasonable expectation of privacy. So think about a changing room, or a bathroom, or engaging in a sexual act that is obviously not meant for a public audience. If someone intrudes on that privacy by watching or filming, that's a crime.
And this is so important in our digital age. The law has a dissemination clause. What that means is, let's say a woman consents to a private photo being taken, but she does not consent to that photo being shared. If the other person then goes and shares that image, the act of sharing it is by itself the crime of voyeurism. Consent to take the picture is not consent to distribute it.
So as we pull all of this together, you'll see there's one golden thread that connects every single one of these laws we've talked about, from a passing comment all the way up to a serious physical assault. This table really lays it all out. As you can see, what separates one crime from another isn't just the physical act, it's the specific intent, what we called mens rea at the start, of the person committing the act. Was the goal to insult, to outrage, to disrobe, or to intrude on privacy? The law is trying to look directly into the mind of the accused to figure that out.
So here's the bottom line. Under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, what is happening inside a perpetrator's head is just as important, if not more important, than the physical act itself. The entire legal framework that's meant to protect a woman's dignity is built on this foundation of defining and then proving that specific intent. And that leaves us with a final, really big question to think about. By focusing so intensely on the specific nuances of a person's intent, are these new laws going to fundamentally change our whole understanding of what it means to keep women safe? And how will it affect our ability to hold perpetrators accountable in the real world? That's something for all of us to consider.